Here's my little homemade teleprompter. What is a teleprompter, you ask? Well, it's a device that through the magic of light reflection and the genius of Steve Jobs and the Woz, you're able to see your prepared written script scroll on a sheet of glass while you look straight into the camera. And the amazing thing is, the camera doesn't see the text as it's filming you. Here's an example. All right, here we are looking at the interviewer side of the teleprompter, and we can see that we've got the iPad in the bottom of the box with our teleprompter software running. We can start it and it'll start scrolling. And as you can see in the top, the reflection of the glass, the interviewer or the person giving the presentation can read the text as it scrolls. Now watch what happens as we rotate this around to what would normally be the camera side. Now we can still see the scrolling of the text in the iPad, but if you look at the glass, you don't see the text. So from the camera point of view, it's up a little bit high now so you can see the iPad, but normally if the camera was lower, you wouldn't see any reflection in that glass at all. If you want to see just how simple it is to make one of these devices, stick around and I'll show you how we made this one. Okay, the prompter that I'm using here, I designed and built years ago. And when I started thinking about making this video, I went on YouTube to see what improvements might have been made by my fellow DIYers since I had built mine. And I found all types of teleprompters trying to outdo each other price-wise. There was the $35 prompter, the $20 prompter, the $10 prompter, the $5 prompter, and even a no-cost prompter build. I have no idea what I paid for mine because I built it out of materials I had laying around the shop. Truth be known, when you add in the iPad, phone, or tablet you need to make these work, none of these are cheap. So, while looking over the design others had come up with, I saw lighter ones, but I kind of like the stoutness of mine as it's held up well over the years. I saw some made of cheap dollar store folders with a glass panel inserted into the front, and these seemed too flimsy and didn't have sides to shield the light, making the text easier to read. I saw some with shadow boxes on the back side enclosing the entire back half of the prompter with just a hole to poke the lens through. While this seemed like a good idea, it just adds too much bulk, and mine can achieve the same thing by just draping a black cloth across the back if needed. But I found that I really don't need to do that as the text shows up quite legibly. If using the prompter outside, you might have a problem, but the cloth would do the trick to shade it. Bottom line, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So this is not the new and improved version, just the same old it works fine version. Okay, for starters, let's take a look at how you go about sizing your prompter box. Here's our layout for our teleprompter. Don't let all the lines confuse you. The design is really simple as it only has 3 pieces. The base shown here and 2 triangle pieces here and here. Now this layout and dimensions are for what I use for my teleprompter using my iPad Air. Yours may vary slightly based on the length and width of the tablet you're using. For the piece of lumber you'll need to start with, if your tablet width is similar to mine, you can use a standard 1x8 as its actual measurements are 3/4 inch by 7 1/4 inch. Any board that is as wide as your tablet or slightly wider, like mine having an additional 1/4 inch on the top and bottom, will work. You just don't want to use a board that is too narrow as the glass will not be big enough to capture the entire reflection of the tablet. Now the base of the teleprompter is going to be the length of your tablet plus 3/4 inch on either side, and that's where your side pieces mount, and then an additional 1/8 inch on the sides here and here to compensate for any expansion or contraction of the wood. You don't want any difficulty sliding your tablet into the base. Then the 2 pieces, the 2 side pieces, are right triangles, and the piece you want to cut these from will be a square and equal to the width of the board. In this case, it's 7 1/4 inches, this square here. All right, now for the length of the board you need for the entire project, the base is 11¼ inches and the end pieces are 7¼ So the total length of the board we need is 18½ inches. A 1x8 by 24-inch board from your local box store would be plenty for this project. Or if using 3/4-inch plywood like I did, a 24-inch by 24-inch sheet would do the trick. As you'll see in the build video, there are only 3 cuts you will need to make. First will be this 45-degree cut, and that'll give us this first side piece. Then we're going to make a 90-degree cut along the board here to give us our second side piece. And then all we have to do is trim this piece, the base piece, to length. Okay, while doing the layout for your prompter, you can pause this video at the beginning of the little diagram here to see all the details you need to take into consideration to size your prompter. Now that we have our layout, let's head to the garage and build this baby. Okay, here we've got our board, and it's already been cut to our width of 7¼ inches. I've also cut the length too. So the first cut we're going to make is our 45-degree angle. And this will create one of our side pieces. And I'm just using a 10-inch circular saw. Now we're going to make the other little side piece by making a 90-degree cut across the board. That's what you see me doing here. All right, so that's our second side. Now, if your board is longer, like if you bought a 24-inch board from Lowe's or Home Depot, you can take and make that third cut now, but I've already got mine to the right length, so I'm just taking the 2 sides of my iPad and making sure everything lines up and is the right size. Seemed okay. Now I'm going to mark both sides of my base 3/4 inch in, and these will be where the side piece is set. And I'm just drawing a couple layout lines with the speed square on that 3/4 inch mark, so I can see where I need to put my pilot holes, mark my pilot holes for the screws that are going to hold the sides on. And there I'm just eyeballing where I want to put the screws in the center of that 3/4 inch line that I made, or 3/4 inch rectangle that I made, I guess you'd say. I've got all 4 holes marked. Now I want to take and flip this board over and draw a line from corner to corner on both sides, so that where the line crisscrosses, where it intersects in the middle, will be where I want to place my insert for the 1/4-20 insert for attaching this base to a light stand or a tripod or whatever. Here I'm drilling those pilot holes, and this is just so the wood doesn't split. The plywood probably wouldn't be a problem. If you're using dimensional lumber, it could easily split though. Also makes drilling or screwing the screws in easier. Alright, so I've got all 4 of those drilled. I'm going to flip it over, and I've changed the bit in the drill, a 3/8 inch bit here, and I put a piece of tape on it as a depth stop, so I know how deep I can drill before I need to stop. I don't want to drill all the way through. So when the piece of tape hits the top of the board, I know I'm deep enough. Then I'm going to take my insert. You can get these at Lowe's or Home Depot, any of the big box stores, and set it with a few hammer strikes. And I've got a little bit of tear out around the drill hole, so I'm just taking my utility knife and cutting those little flaps off. Probably should have done that before I put the screw in or the insert in, but it's cool. And one more tap there to set it. Now I'm going to put the 4 screws in, and I'm just using sheetrock screws, nothing special. You could use wood screws. These are just some screws I had laying around. I like using sheetrock screws where you're putting something together that aesthetics don't really matter. Just something to hold it. You see here I've got all 4 screws in. Now I'm going to take the sides, or actually I think what I need to do now is get some glue and put it on the sides. Smear it around a couple passes, a couple beads of glue. And then we'll set that piece, and I realized at this point I got it the wrong direction, so I flip it over, line the side piece up. Getting ready to set the screws, make sure I got a line and everything's flush. And of course, when you're trying to do it on camera, it's always awkward and it's not easy sometimes. But I finally got it lined up. Set that screw. Set the other screw like such, and we've got that attached. We'll grab our glue on our other side, smear some glue along the edge of it, like so. Couple passes, spread it around. Then we'll take and line this side up. Try to hold it together while we drive the screws in. We've got it lined up and flush. We run this screw in, line it up, get it flush, run the second screw in, and voila, we've got our sides attached. Now I'm going to go get a cloth, damp cloth, and wipe down any glue squeeze out in our corners here and on the outside. Got the inside done, run a cloth along the outside from both sides, and she's cleaned up. Now I'm going to take the iPad and slide it in, make sure that everything's fitting right, and it slides in, everything looks good. Now what we've got to do is cut a piece of plexiglass for the front. And here I've got a scrap piece that I found in the shop. What you'll be using will come from the box store with a piece of plastic on the outside that you'll peel off. But while you're cutting it, you'll leave the plastic on. And you can score it with just a utility knife like this, make a few passes. This particular piece is like a 1/16 inch. It's real thin, but you could use up to 1/8 inch and be able to cut it with a utility knife. And once you've got it scored good, just snap it on the edge of the table, or like this snapped very easy just by holding one piece flat and pulling the corner up, and it popped off. Then I'm measuring for the other side of the rectangle. I measured the teleprompter first, and then I transferred that dimension over to the piece of plexiglass, made a mark with my pencil, and then get my speed square again. Line it up on my pencil mark. Grab my utility knife and score this piece a few times. Alright, then we'll just snap that piece off. Alright, so there's our glass top. And you can notice here I took a paint stirring stick, which is 1 inch wide, and trimmed it and nailed it to the front of the teleprompter. And that's a little ledge. It creates a little ledge. Here you can see it again, a little ledge there that holds the glass from sliding off. And then this is the painting it. And you want to paint it black so that it doesn't reflect light onto the glass. And here's a big tip. Don't spray paint outside when the wind's blowing like 20 miles an hour. It just doesn't work very well. So. But in an effort to try to get this shot, get it on camera, I spray painted in the wind anyway. So it's a terrible looking paint job, but aesthetics not what we're trying to achieve here. We just want to make it so that we don't have a reflection of the wood in the glass. So when we paint it black, it doesn't reflect. And there you see the finished product on a light stand, ready to go. Now, I want to take a minute here and talk about the iPad and the app that I use. And in this case, it's I got it from the Apple Store, and it's called Teleprompter Pro by MSDC Technologies, and it's only $8, $7.99. And there's a bunch of these teleprompter apps out there, but this one's pretty simple. It lets you create scripts, and the beauty of it is it's got a mirror mode, so you can flip it so that as it scrolls, and it will scroll for you, you can set the speed at how fast it scrolls, but when you do the mirror mode, as it scrolls, it reflects into the glass, and it makes it legible right reading. It's a great little program, and I highly recommend it. All right, I guess this pretty much wraps it up. I thank you for watching, and as always, if you've enjoyed the information, please subscribe, man. It doesn't cost you anything. Just click that little red button, and you'll get all the latest videos from me, and I'll try to provide you with some good information. And again, I appreciate it. Have a great day.